Hi, I'm CJ. I'm here today to talk about coat color in the Kishu Ken. Here with me is Cucullin, who is an example of a red Kishu Ken. There are three standard coat colors internationally recognized in the breed. These are red, like Cucullin, sesame, which is Nami and Totaro's coat color. Nami appears in some of my other videos, and Totaro should appear eventually. And Fiona would be an example of a white Kishu Ken. Fiona also appears in some of my previous videos. White is the overwhelming majority in the breed. If you are looking for a Kishu, chances are you are going to get a white puppy. There was a very popular line back in the 60s that was extensively bred to that produced the modern breed's trend toward white dogs. Thank you, Cucullin. I don't eat that. Thank you. In addition to these three coat colors, there is black and tan. Black and tan is recognized by Nippo, which is the breed's club in Japan. Cucullin, I'm doing something. The breed club in Japan does recognize black and tan, and even though it is functionally extinct in the breed, I have maybe like one picture of a black and tan Kishu that is clearly quite old. With these four coat colors, there are also white markings. White markings in and of themselves are not a disqualification in the breed in any standard. The only time they become a disqualification is when we call them pinto. Pinto is when those white markings go up and over the shoulder on the dogs. Anything that interrupts body color kind of interrupts, I believe they phrase it, the harmony or the character of the dog. So they do severely fault pinto in some standards or disqualify it in others. The best way to know what is and is not allowed by your standards is to look them up. The Kishu is recognized by the UKC here in the US. The AKC recognizes them in their foundation stock program. The FCI recognizes them in Europe, and in Japan they are recognized both by the JKC and Nippo. So they are an internationally recognized breed. There is no official standardized preference towards any coat color, but it does tend to be a lot. Cucullin, can you back up? I have very expensive stuff over there. Thank you. It does tend to be a lot easier to show a white dog. White dogs tend to have less color faults. Cucullin here probably is a little, he's not quite as red as is preferred by the standards. He also doesn't have very distinct Urijiro, even though you can kind of see it on his cheeks and down his neck, his very scratchy neck. Sesame dogs often appear a little bit washed out. Their sesame isn't like exactly right, or they have black masks. So it just tends to be easier to show white dogs. They tend to have less color faults, and therefore it's easier to get a better specimen, not only because of how common the white coat is, but because of how uncommon faults in the coat color are. I guess that's really all I have to say about coat color in the breed. I do tend to talk about it a whole lot just because 3 out of my 4 Kishu are not white coated. So it tends to be a point of interest when I show up at Meet the Breed booths or talk about them in public. But it's important to know that white coats are in the majority for the breed, and just because I have these 3 Kishu that aren't white doesn't really mean that's necessarily what's preferred in the breed. And certainly if anybody's telling you otherwise, like that white coats are preferred or that red coats or sesame coats are preferred, that usually comes down to individual or breeder preference. So with that out of the way, we will see you next time.